Let's talk Jordan Shipp. Very talented guy. Troy, I'm going to kick it to you first. What you got on Jordan Shipp and what you think he can bring to the wide receiver this room? I personally think he's going to be the number one receiver or in contention for the number one receiver. I think he should have got a lot more opportunities last year than he did. Kick us off. What you got?
Yeah, man, Ship. I'm super high on Jordan Ship this year. Guy that caught 9 catches, 114 yards. What, he had 2 touchdowns last season, I believe, 1 touchdown. Averaged 12.7 yards per catch. But when you turn his film on, and anybody that's followed Jordan Ship since high school over in Charlotte at Providence Day, he's a dog, man. He's got that mentality to go on. When he's out on the field, it's kill or be killed out there, pretty much. A good size receiver, as you can see right there in the highlights. Good with his hands, off balance catches, all that good stuff. Working in space. Just overall, I think I agree with you, Chris. Coming into this season, I think he's definitely going to be wide receiver one. And I'm super, super excited for him, especially with the departure of J.J. Jones for this season. We need a guy to step up and be that dog, and JJ was that for us last year. But I think Jordan Shipp, man's got the talent to really, really take that next step this season. I think this wide receiver room, there's a couple guys in there, quite a few that could really, really contribute, and I think Jordan Shipp is definitely that lead guy that can do so. He's got good size, pretty good speed. For an outside receiver, I think he could, add a little bit more speed to his game. But overall, man, great hands, good size, has a nose for the football, and can help you put points up on the board, pretty quickly. So super, super high on Jordan Shipp this year.
Yeah, one of the points that I'd like to make, just watching some of his film last year, as you see right here, most of his, of these 9 receptions, I would say a little bit over half of them were contested catches. I mean, he's just strong hands, plays the ball really well. Troy, when you watch this film, is that what you see as well?
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm looking at receivers, and I pay pretty close attention to receivers all across the country, not just really UNC, but all around. Jordan Shipp's a guy that, like, right there, man, just got a nose for the football, can high point it, great hands, and good luck bringing him down. There's a few clips on here where he's just dragging guys with him as he's getting yards after catch, but super strong hands. He's a big body, 6'1", 190. Be anxious to see if he adds any extra weight this season, any muscle coming in. We know what the strength and conditioning staff that Belichick brought in can do. But right there, man, that's a testament to what kind of guy he is. Breaking tackles, getting out in the open space, and getting yards after catch, man. That's a big, big thing for a wide receiver. So
Yeah, I know a lot of times when, a season's not going too well, it's not the mentality of a coaching staff to kind of like, all right, let's start getting younger guys more reps, right? It's like, we're here to win, because jobs are on the line, things like that. But it just feels like Jordan Shipp deserved more opportunity last year as a true freshman. Definitely burning your freshman redshirt year, burning that. I just really felt like he should have got a lot more opportunities. Trevor, I want to come to you. Before you go into Jordan Shipp, looking at this wide receiver as a whole, do you recall that stat you told me yesterday when we were talking wide receivers? It was pretty wild. Um, do you recall what I'm talking
Yep.
about? Yeah, what was that? Share that with our listeners today. I thought that was very interesting. It might cause some people to panic a little bit, but I feel like we've got some really good talent, and I think that, looking at the wide receiver talent that we have in this room, I think it's going to be one of the strong points and one of the stronger rooms on the offensive side of the ball for the Tar Heels this year. But give us that stat. What was that? And then you can go straight into Jordan Shipp.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, man. So we lost 6 of our top 7 pass catchers last year. That was on UNC,
Say that
and
again. Say that again.
Six of our top 7 pass catchers.
When Trevor
So
told me that yesterday, I was like, "What?" I mean, because it's just hard to keep up with so much, right? In today's transfer portal, like who's coming, who's going. Definitely when you're trying to follow other programs, that's just as a dude that loves college ball, right? Like you're trying to follow other teams, like, and then sometimes you miss some things. But 6 out of 7, that's mind blowing.
yeah, it's crazy, dude. And to go a little deeper, so Kobe he's our leading in terms of college stats. He's got the most stats, and then our guy second is the Michigan State transfer Isaiah Johnson, and then after them two, there's no other receiver in the room that's caught more than 10 balls in college. So it's a room, but I would say, man, it's loaded with a ton of potential but not a lot of production. I mean, it's young, but there's a lot of high upside, a lot of potential in that room, and I think Jordan is one of the guys with the highest potential in there. Like he can be an NFL guy one day. Obviously, he's did it at the high school level. He showed flashes last year, and I think that it's his time to take a big step forward. And I know I was telling you guys on, I don't know if we were live or we were just talking, but last year, if this staff is similar to how last year's staff was, it was the guys who were before the season start, the guys that were doing the interviews, that were going to meet with the media. They seem to often be the guys that were showing out at practice, right? So Jordan's a guy that's obviously representing Carolina the 24th in Charlotte at media days. So I got a feeling there's probably a reason for that. And he's been showing out at camp. But I was, man, when Troy was talking, I was looking at film, and y'all can tell me if I'm crazy or not. But just watching Jordan, dude, as a Carolina Panther fan, he looks like a DJ Moore, like young DJ Moore, the way he like runs through guys, playing aggressive. And I made a note about Jordan. I went back and watched his high school film deep, and wide receivers, they'll say you throw a ball up, it's a 50-50 ball, right? Jordan's like an 80-20 guy. Like he will go up and get the ball, dude. He's got really strong hands, like Troy said, but he plays like with a aggressive style, and I mean, I think he's got a big year coming this year for us.
Hey, can I add something to that too? I
Always.
you talk about comparisons, Trevor, and I think DJ Moore is a pretty good one. But keeping it local to Carolina, when I watch his film, man, just from what we've seen from last season, he almost reminds me of a Hakeem Nicks. To be honest with you, the way he catches the football, yards after catch, really really hard to bring down. I see a lot of Hakeem Nicks in Jordan's game, and we know how his career turned out at Carolina, first round draft pick with the Giants, all that good stuff. So yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. I'm looking for Jordan to really assume the role of that dog. JJ Jones was that for us last year. Carolina fans know, the last game of the season against State, taking the NC State flag, throwing it, getting in guys' grills, talking trash. You need somebody like that in your locker room, man. Somebody that's going to get it out the mud and really, stand on business pretty much. So I think I'm looking for Jordan to really assume that role this season and be a leader, not just vocally, but with his play too.
Yeah, and you talking about having that dog mentality and getting up, and other opposing teams players' grills. I think looking across um, this roster that Bill's built and Lombardi has built together, I think we got a lot more than that on this roster than we have years past. Just seeing some of the banter online going back and forth, opposing team players taking shots at, Carolina or Carolina players throughout the off season and leading up to the season. And it was like, Carolina would never respond. I know I mentioned this in another episode, and it always just drives me crazy. It's like, why are we just letting this float by? But I really like that, like Kamori House and some of them have kind of chirped a little bit online back, and then they didn't start it right online. They just fired a shot back. And but see, was something interesting looking at Bill's and Lombardi's recruits, and they were behind the 8 ball, when they got into Chapel Hill, right, with recruiting and learning the transfer portal, and with the 25 and now the 26 class, and I mean, they're doing awesome in the 26 class, in my opinion. But If you look at a lot of the recruits that they've brought in via the transfer portal, it's guys that were blue chips, highly sought after coming out of high school, and just for whatever reason weren't able to flip the switch, at the school that they were at. And, Bill and Lombardi, if you go look at a lot of those transfers, the younger guys like a Leacott, like we're going to talk about here shortly, they're have to be betting, right, that they're going to be able to develop these guys and get that switch. Connor Cox, was sought after, and he tied in. What we're going to talk about that in the next episode, but he's another example of a guy that was highly sought after, but for some reason the light switch never went off right early on in his career at South Carolina. And so I love it, man. But you're going to have to be able to develop these guys, and that switch is going to have to be turned on. Do you guys got anything left for Jordan Shipp? I do like that opinion. I do like that thought, Trevor, about him going up, right? If you definitely go look at his high school film, he'd go up, and he would time it perfectly, right? That pinpointing that ball in the air, and it was beautiful. But you guys got anything left before we transition to our next one, which is Trevor's guy?
Go ahead, Trev.
I'm good on Jordan, man. One cool thing, I don't. Some people may find it's cool. I didn't know this about Jordan, but his dad actually played wide receiver at Florida. So that's an interesting stat.
Yeah, I think back in the 90s or something. Is that right?
I don't remember the year, but I just saw that he played. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Jordan, for all the folks listening to us and tuning in to this live stream, keep an eye on Jordan Shipp this year. I think we could, going into the season, week 1 against TCU. If I'm not a gambler, but if I'm a betting man, I'd say he's going to get a lot of targets this season for Gio. I think he's going to be a safety blanket for Gio, a guy that you can throw the ball up to. And Trevor, you made a really good point. Those 50-50 balls turn into 70-30 or 80-20 with Jordan. Big receiver that can go up and high point the football, and I love it, man. He torched the competition at Providence Day. Had a great first game last year. I can't remember who it was against, but it was in Bank of America Stadium and just absolutely lit it up. Back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving in high school, and just a overall highly regarded and highly recruited in-state product. State wanted him really, really bad, and he chose to come to Carolina. One of Mac's recruits. Super glad he stayed, man. I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, no doubt about it too. He's the type of guy, and I want our listeners to understand is that he's the type of guy that if he hit the portal, he would have been highly sought after by SEC schools, Florida State, that type of caliber, Clemson potentially, which is kind of surprising. One of his best friends just recently committed to, Clemson, which was also a Carolina target. What was his name? Do y'all recall?
Recently, I know was it Gordon Sellers?
Yep, Gordon
Didn't he
Sellers.
go to
Yep.
Yeah. And one man, I'm gonna add this in. I hope Clemson doesn't change their approach to getting a lot of transfers, because we got Lonnie Galloway down at Clemson now, and Lonnie had a good relationship with especially this wide receiver room, but a lot of kids that are still on our team here in Chapel Hill. So I hope Clemson stays away from the portal.
Elite
They
recruiter
dipped their
down
toe in
there.
a little bit more this year. I'm sorry, Trevor. Go ahead. Troy.
No, you're good, brother. I was just piggybacking off what Trevor said with Lonnie, man. Elite recruiter. Yeah, I was a little worried about that myself, Trev, but he stuck around.
Yeah, he's a big reason why Chip's teammate went there. So that Providence Day connection is going to Clemson now.
Well, everybody, that's Jordan Shipp. We expect big things, from him, as the new season approaches. Quick, 51 days away, TCU coming to town. And hey, listeners, also, you probably heard Troy said when Gio's throwing in the ball. Yes, that's correct. We believe Gio Lopez is going to be the starter week 1. We believe it's his team. He's also right in Charlotte. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. He's also all in Charlotte. But if you want to know why we're thinking Lopez, other than it's kind of like obvious. And what we have to say about him, go check it out. The quarterback breakdown, you can find that on YouTube and Spotify.
Hey, Tar Pit crew, thanks for tuning in today. You just heard a segment from our latest episode where we break down the UNC wide receiver room heading into next season, a group loaded with talent but light on experience. If this episode hit the mark, do us a favor, like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support keeps the podcast rolling. You can catch full episodes of the Tar Pit podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Don't forget to follow on Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. The Tar Pit podcast is proudly powered by Untapped Sports Network. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Heels.